Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Rick Roll. Alright, we are on day 6 of our woodworking project. I think we're going to be able to finish this thing up today. Let me show you where we are so far. As you recall in our last video, we finished up staining both sides of this, and I think it's going to start looking pretty good. Now, we've given it a little bit of time to dry now. You may recall it was a little bit glossier before, and that was because some of the stain was still a little bit damp. It's dried up and kind of soaked in a little bit, so I think what we're ready to do now is we're going to put on our acrylic coating, and this is going to make it really pop. The acrylic coating is going to not only protect the wood underneath so that it resists stains and scratching and all that, it's also going to make it really glossy and it's going to make it really shiny. So this is going to look really good. Basically, I went out and bought a couple cans in our last video of a glossy polyurethane water-based stain. I've actually worked with both water-based and oil-based polyurethane coatings, and kind of prefer the water-based over the oil-based. The oil-based tends to take forever to dry. You know, I mean, I'm talking a couple days sometimes to dry, and if you're going to do this right and want it to be really shiny and really pretty, you're going to have to put 4, 5, 6 coats on there. And if you're talking 2 days to get each coat to dry, you're going to spend weeks doing this. You go with a water-based polyurethane, and it tends to dry quicker. You can usually get it dry enough in like an hour that you can put on another coat. So I've elected to go with that. I've worked with water-based polyurethane coatings in the past, and I think this is going to really make this thing pop. Let's go. Alright, I gotta apologize because I screwed up the scene that's supposed to go in this part of the video. What I wanted to say, and what I had said in the video, or at least what I thought I had said when I wasn't recording, was that I've noticed in the past that when I put the stain on the wood, the stain tends to bubble a little bit. And I've noticed this over the years. What's going on is some of the carbon dioxide and oxygen that's in the pores of the wood kind of begins to trickle to the surface when you put the stain on there, put the liquid on there. Now, that isn't necessarily a problem with the stain itself, but when you get to the point where you're putting the polyurethane coating on there and it starts bubbling, what you end up with is the bubbles start trickling through the polyurethane coating, and the first coat or two of the polyurethane coating, after it dries, it's really rough because you can feel the texture of this air that's escaping from the wood. So it isn't terribly uncommon. In fact, every single time I've done a project, the first coating or two of the polyurethane coating, I have to go at it with a really fine sandpaper afterwards just to smooth off all those rough edges. It only lasts 1 or 2 layers of the polyurethane coating, but it is something that has to happen. So anyway, let's get on with the applying of the first layer of the polyurethane. All right, about an hour has passed. It's no longer tacky to the feel, but it's definitely rough. You can definitely feel where the bubbles are popping up here. And so I'm going to go over this a little bit with, like I said, a real fine grit sandpaper. Just kind of pull all the roughness off, and then we're going to put another coat on here. All right, this is coat number 2, starting to get a little bit more glossy coating on it, starting to look really good. This will still dull a little bit as the acrylic coating dries a bit, but starting to get an idea what it will look like, and it's going to look really nice. So, yep, we'll let it dry for another hour, and then we'll put coat number 3 on. Alright, so I kind of made a decision here. Instead of putting another coat of acrylic coating on and showing it to you, and then putting another one on and showing it to you, and another, and another, and another, I just elected to put them all on and show you the finished product. So, since you last saw this, there have been 4 more coats put on this thing for a total of 6. And the 6th coat has now been given a chance to dry, and I think we are ready to move this thing in the house and install it. What do you think? How does that look, huh? Really glows, doesn't it? And of course the backsplash is good and ready to go too. I didn't put as many coats on that. I think that had about 4 coats, but that looks pretty good too, I think. So I'm going to muscle this bad boy into the house one final time here. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to use this sawhorse to help get the thing onto the rack, because what I have to do is attach the backsplash before I put it onto the shelves. And I think it'll be a little easier to do if I have the sawhorse inside the house. So I got to switch sawhorses because this one here is a little bit taller than this one. I think it'll be a little easier if I set it on top of this one and then use this one to move it in. So I'm going to move this thing into the house first, and then we'll transfer the table onto this sawhorse, move these sawhorses in, and I will catch up with you in a couple of minutes. Alright, so there's the final product. I got it on the wall. Managed to get some screws onto the underside of it so it's well secured to the wall. It's going to hold up really well. It doesn't shake. It isn't loose. It's very well secure, and it looks fantastic in here. Now, one of the things I'm going to have to do, and I realized this right off the bat, is I'm going to have to redo this wall here in terms of photos, because there just isn't enough room for the photos that were there, so I'm going to have to respace all of these and do this again, but that's okay. That's just something you have to do sometimes. You got to rearrange things. So we'll shift everything up, push it a little closer together, and it'll work out real well. The little pass-through things worked out really good. I kind of set them up so they were directly above the outlets, so I can now run a cord through there and down to the outlet, and have power up here, and I think this looks fantastic. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Now I just got to find a bunch of junk to put on top of it, right? I've got this little wood thing here that I kind of keep blankets and pillows and stuff like that in there, and fortunately that fits right under there really nicely. And we'll probably end up getting rid of this table here at some point, because this thing is officially obsolete. But there you go. There's the final product. I'm happy with how it turned out, and I hope you found this a little bit instructive and not too boring, having to watch 6 whole videos about me putting this thing together. But I thought it was interesting to kind of show you the whole process of going from basically lumber to this finished piece of furniture. And yeah, now go home and try it yourself, right? So anyway, I think that's all that I have for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.